We move forward, ladies and gentlemen, to our next segment. We'll be calling on another special dignitary. So let's take a look at the screen. Yes, the segment is Building a Digital Future, and we have with us Mr. Kiran, Kuchimanchi, President, Digital Engineering Services, Cigniti. Sir, I request you to please come onto the stage. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Okay. You are? Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me on this too. I'm going to be moving around a bit. I'm not used to standing at a podium and speaking generally. But thank you, NASSCOM, for organizing this. This year's forum, NASSTech, I think is very apt. Tectonic. Technology powered by what you call tonic, transformation, innovation, opportunity, collaboration. I think it's perfect for the world that we live in today. And I'd like to thank Mr. B.V.R. Mohan Reddy for his wonderful and inspiring speech this morning. I think he covered key points about power, potential, and promise of technology. And I would like to take that a little further today through my conversation this morning. And I'm going to be speaking about building a digital future. And I'm going to cover 3 topics as part of that. First, a little bit context of the world that we live in today. Second, in the context of the world that we live in today, how do enterprises have to transform themselves in order to stay relevant and in order to thrive as well? And the third, how do we as people that are part of this ecosystem Can I get a clicker, please? So how do we, as people that are part of this ecosystem, how can we be relevant in the changing landscape of the world that we live in? So that's the conversation that we're going to have today.
This is the forward, this is backward. Yeah.
So the 3 topics, that's where we are. So first, let's jump straight away into the world that we live in. I'm going to, since it's the season of football, I'd like you to imagine a scenario. Imagine that you're sitting at the top of a football stadium, the top seat of the football stadium. And imagine that there is a magic tap in the center of the stadium. It's magical because it can do some special things. It can, for a start, emit a drop of water every second, and it doubles every minute. Sorry, it emits a drop of water every minute, and it doubles every minute. So, for example, the first minute, it drops a drop of water. Second minute, it's 2 drops. Third minute, 4. Fourth minute, 8, and so on and so forth. You get the picture. Now, you imagine that you're sitting at the top seat of the football stadium. How long do you think before the stadium starts flooding? Is it a year? A month? Maybe a day? A couple of hours? Any guesses from anyone here? So let me give you the answer. The stadium starts flooding by the 47th minute. So that's the power of exponential growth that we are seeing today. Technology is going at a very rapid pace. Data is going at a very rapid pace. The world is changing extremely fast, and we are to live in that world and make ourselves relevant. But let me go back to the football example. Imagine when the stadium is going to be 90% empty. Do you know? It's just 4 minutes before the stadium starts flooding. So we are, in some sense, sitting 4 minutes before we see the exponential growth of everything that's happening across the world. So just some stats, and I'd like you to remember just the last point. 90% of the data that's today is created in the last 2 years. So now I thought if there was one way of staying ahead of this exponential growth that's happening, maybe it's perhaps trying to learn all of it, or trying to learn as much as we can. And I sort of pondered across the internet, tried to see how it's possible to continuously learn, stay ahead of technology, stay ahead of change. And I then discovered that some of the most brilliant minds in the world could not do it. What chance do we have here to be able to learn any of that and to be able to constantly stay ahead of the change that's happening? People like Albert Einstein have said that the more they learn, the more they realize that the less they knew. So it doesn't give us any chance in being able to compete with this fast pace of change that's happening across the world. So then I thought maybe it's a way to stay ahead is by perhaps capturing all of this knowledge that we're gaining and sort of make it available for not just us and us as in the people that are here today, but perhaps make it available for our future generations as well. And I came up with this idea about a couple of years back due to a personal incident. My father-in-law was a brilliant lawyer. He was the go-to guy for anything that we wanted to ask him for on. He understood technology very well. He wanted all the latest of the gadgets. He understood philosophy, psychology, history, whatever topic. He was the go-to guy to ask questions on. And I thought, if there's some way to preserve his knowledge, when he passed away, then that, and make it available for generations to come, then it is one way of trying to stay ahead of the, exponential growth that we're seeing. So, and I came up with this thought that, it's perhaps possible to do that through technology. And I came up, while doing that through a company that's already doing it.
What if there was one place where all of your memories could live forever? One place where you could ask any question about the life of someone you love and always hear their voice. Introducing Hereafter AI, the amazing new way to save and share memories about your life. First, you record memories with the help of a friendly automated interviewer.
Hi, I'm James. What would you like to do? What's something unusual about your childhood?
Then, using the power of our AI platform, your loved ones can chat with the virtual you, today or years in the future. Unlike conventional methods for storing memories, Hereafter is interactive. Your voice, your personality and stories, your forever.
So there was no chance for us to continuously, keep track of everything that's happening, record it, and make it available. So that was not something that we could do. Technology is already taking over that part. Then I said, maybe there are certain areas which are very domain specific that is perhaps even more going to be relevant for our future generations. Take, for example, the healthcare industry. Take, for example, some of the things that are happening on the diagnostic side. And I came across one of these companies that I met recently. This company, now using simple wearable technology, is able to track body temperature, stress levels of the person who's wearing that wearable device, including some of the latest research that they're conducting on being able to use laser technology to seep through the skin, look at the blood viscosity levels, and be able to predict the sugar levels in the blood. Imagine how that is going to transform people that are suffering from diabetes, and more importantly, how that's going to disrupt the industry around diagnostics and being able to detect diseases and being able to predict the health of a patient that is suffering from some of these diseases. So that's something that is also getting increasingly automated, increasingly taken over by machines to say. Then I thought, this is crazy. Maybe there are certain other areas which are probably going to be that much more relevant for us as human beings to be able to do. And I thought, maybe let's look at some of these complex problems that doctors are treating patients for. This is about a case study of a customer that I recently visited. They are now working on a revolutionary technology that will allow people to treat cancer, and it's called tumor infiltrating lymphocytes therapy. Essentially, the technology is all about taking the T cell, which is essentially a cancer-curing cell, from a person that is actually affected by cancer, taking it out of the patient, taking it all the way to the lab, multiplying that many more times, and then injecting back into the patient so that it can cure cancer. Think about the revolutionary change that is happening in terms of curing some of these diseases like cancer. So technology increasingly is taking over everything that we as people were doing in terms of knowledge that we have accumulated over the last few years, domain-specific industries that are that were always relevant and trying to help people through whatever they do. So I said, if this is the world that we live in, how do we stay relevant as enterprises, which is where I wanted to talk about the enterprises of the future. And I thought, for example, the enterprises have to be first purpose-led. Purpose is what you do and what you do not do. If you're very clear with what you do as an enterprise, that's when you can attract the best of the talent. If you're very clear about what you do, that's when most of the customers that want to buy your product will resonate with. And I would like to cite two examples. Adidas, which is the first one here, they believe that through sport, they have the power to change lives. And it is universal. Today they could be manufacturing sports apparel, but tomorrow they could be doing something else. And that's their purpose. At the core of the purpose, that's what they believe in. And purpose is something that people resonate by heart. It's not something that they resonate with mind. And therefore people buy into the products and subscribe to them. The second example is a very popular one, IKEA. They believe that they have to create a better life for the many people. They incidentally sell furniture for homes, but intrinsically, they're actually trying to create better lives for the very many people. So I believe that the future of the organization should be purpose-led. They should have purpose at their core. The vision, mission, and all of that are good, but beyond that, they should be able to communicate their purpose effectively to the larger population to be able to then survive and thrive. The second one is about creating long-term value. Every company wants to create long-term value, business value, and sustainably over time. That's what every company wants to do. But how do they go about doing that? The problem with the situation that we have today is that the future is very unpredictable. You don't know what 10 years out is going to look like. You know where you are today, you have all the data that you have about today, but you have no way of understanding what the future is going to look like 5 years out, 10 years out. So what's the way in which you can continue to stay relevant in this changing scenario? I think companies will have to adapt innovation as their framework, and not innovation by way of creating an R&D center and doing one-off project, but innovation as a programmatic practice through which they are trying out thousands and millions of ideas, looking at what works, what doesn't work, and being able to use those that work and take them forward into what they offer to their end customers. So that's, I think, what companies have to continue to aim for. So innovation is core to every company's business moving forward. It's no longer a good to have. It's a must. And this has to be across a time frame, a small, medium, and a long-term time frame. The third one, I think, is about constantly learning. Execution is no longer about doing something that is set. It's no longer about operating in your own comfort zone. It's about constantly learning. Imagine doing an open heart surgery. Imagine changing, a Formula One race car competing, and you're constantly reading information about everything that's happening on the field, everything that needs to happen moving forward, and using that real-time information to be able to adapt and change quickly in the direction that you're taking. So that, I think, is going to be an extremely important, feature of organizations of the future. So 3 points: purpose-led, innovation-driven, and execution through continuous experimentation and continuous learning. These are essentially 3 ways in which I think the companies in the future are going to be using to be able to stay relevant. Now, the last section of my speech, how do the people that we are today, how do we now equip ourselves to be able to stay relevant in this changing scenario of the world, the changing dynamics of how the enterprises that we are going to be part of are operating in? Again, I think information is, this you must have seen very many times, but information is something that is there, and it will be automated through machines in a much more easier manner than compared to what we can do as human beings. What we should be doing is to be able to use that information, connect the dots, and be able to identify patterns, ideate, and be able to see through things that probably something the machines cannot do as effectively as we can do today. So that's, I think, information versus knowledge, the difference between information and knowledge, and how we as people should be focusing on gaining knowledge and looking to the patterns that we can identify in the information that's collected. The second one is about being human, and this is about some of the aspects that the machines are not capable of. For example, creativity is something that I think the machines are not capable, at least for now, like we as human beings can do. Take, for example, being able to question the status quo, being able to identify some of the problems for the great challenges that we're facing in the future. Sustainability, climate change, these are all things that are going to be issues that we're going to be grappling as human mankind in the future. So how do we find creative solutions to all these problems? That is something that I think we're going to be extremely relevant moving forward. The second one that I would like to take is critical thinking. This is again something that is very important for us as people that are going to be continuing to contribute into this industry. Questioning status quo, asking as to why something should be the way it is. Is there a different way of organizing things? Is there a different way of operating in this world? These are extremely important, and these are the ways through which we would identify and frame problems. And I believe that if you're able to frame the problem right, half the solution exists there. So this is again an important element of how people should, or we as workforce should try and change in order to be able to stay relevant for the future requirements. I won't talk about all of the other things given the time constraint that we have, but the last one, and this is something that I've been following for quite some time. It's not sufficient for us just to be another person that is doing the work written as per a contract. I believe that if you resonate with the purpose of your company, if you believe that you as a person and you as a part of the enterprise that is trying to change the world in some sense, if you are able to go beyond the call of duty, beyond the text that is written in a contract, that's when you begin to seriously add value. And this I would call it as organization. Just like how we are citizens of a country and we have got a certain style in which we operate, or a certain way in which we operate as part of a citizen of a country, I think every one of us in some sense are going to be citizens of an organization. How do we go beyond the call of duty and try and, it's about, I saw someone this morning, there was a cup that was left by someone else on a table, where it was not meant to be. And this person I saw quietly taking that away and putting it in the right corner that it should go to. I believe is organization citizenship behavior. And when we as people that are part of a company, if we can exhibit that behavior, I think we stand a chance to take organizations much further than compared to what we are in the past. So that's at a very high level what we had today. But I would like to end with this. I was probably spending about a couple of hours trying to put together this content across the last week or so. And then yesterday I was talking to my chief data scientist, and he was playing with this latest large language model, ChatGPT. I don't know how many of you are familiar, but this is the large language model where you can type in a question and it would answer. In fact, you can ask for it to give you the code for any problem that you want, and it would blurt out code in Python or whatever language that you want it to. You can go online, register, try it out. But I was, when he was playing with this tool and he was excited about it, I thought, why not ask this large language model as to what it meant to be able to build a digital future. And I typed it, and this is what it gave me. And I thought, if I were to show this slide right ahead of the start of my session, I wouldn't have required to take 15 minutes of your time. It said everything that I thought I would have covered as part of this session. Thank you.